Trading cards as we know them are about to change forever. I feel like that's way too corny, but I genuinely don't know any other way to say this. Last week, I told you about a Pokemon pack that was scanned using a CT scanner to create a 3D render that you could then use to identify whether it had a holo in it or not. And not just that, but which holo it was too. Now, many people wrote this off as crazy, either too expensive for use, too far away from practical purposes. Not to mention the death of the hobby and the Pokemon card collecting sphere as we know it. One of the parties responsible for this, Industrial, who scanned out Evolution's pre-release kit, emailed me at the start of the week telling me they had a bomb dropping soon. And they were not kidding, because CT scanning of trading card products has officially been commercialized by Industrial, meaning you, me, anyone can send a trading card product, and there's a reason why I'm saying trading card product, to Industrial to be CT scanned for just 75 USD. That's all it's going to cost for them to scan your trading card product and work out what's inside without even needing to open it. Now, what do I mean by trading card products? Well, Industrial are relatively new to the whole card collecting hobby. So when they reached out to me, I got naturally curious, and I figured people would want to know this as well. So I asked them to scan a bunch of different TCGs, not just Pokemon, and the results are incredible. We're talking sports cards, Magic the Gathering, YuGiOh, Digimon, One Piece, even Lorcana to an extent. Industrial's first exposure to the card collecting world was when they released that CT scan of the Evolution's pre-release kit 3 or 4 weeks ago. But upon seeing all of the response online, positive and negative, I figured they saw opportunity and a way to make money. So it's pretty clear they're here to profit from this service, whether the service is wanted or not. Now, they're not paying me for this video, but they did offer this story as an exclusive reveal. So I took that as an opportunity to see how many different things they could scan beyond just a booster pack, and the results are actually crazy. So we started with Pokemon, and I got them to test an Elite Trainer Box, ETB. And so they picked up an Evolving Skies ETB because that seemed like a pretty cool thing to test. And sure enough, we got some results here. So you can kind of see the ability there, Dew Guard, that's for a Milotic. But if you go a little bit further, and you can see that green rectangle square in the bottom right corner, that's the plane that you're viewing. You can see there that they've managed to pick up a Garbodor VMAX. So this is crazy because there are a lot of layers of plastic and cardboard. You've got the dice markers, you've got just a bunch of stuff kind of like obfuscating the view there, but they still managed to find a card scanning an ETB. And in classic Evolving Skies fashion, it's the only hit in the ETB. You gotta love it. Nothing really new for the pre-release kit. We already knew that they were able to scan that and identify the Mega Blastoise EX, but just still really cool to see the texture being picked up, even though there's like 4 packs and a bunch of other cards in front of it. And then I think the one that's gonna blow the lid off the Pokemon card sealed world entirely, a booster box. So they did scan a booster box of Twilight Masquerade. This is the most recent set and the easiest to get a hold of, but the results here have trickle-down effects for everything all the way to vintage. Scanning through this booster box, they were able to identify a number of silhouettes. And if you scroll through this video and you have a look, you can see the silhouette there of a Frostlass. So that's just a rare card. But moving a little bit further through, you see the legs there of the Iron Leaves rare. And going a bit further, then you can see the wings of a Zapdos. So this traditional holo is easier to identify. Moving forward even further, you can see a Pheasantipity, and again, it's just a rare. So this is still really early days, it looks like, for booster box scanning, but the fact that you're getting these kind of results this quickly, and there are so many different layers to scan through for a booster box, the packaging isn't really uniform, things are kind of out of place, but you're still able to get some level of accuracy here. Scanning is absolutely mind-boggling, and suggests, at least to me, that you're going to be able to replicate this for older sets all the way down to vintage. It's just a matter of time. And so that's the hardest part, is identifying and sifting through all the different cards and then knowing what you're actually looking for, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. But moving on, they've also scanned sports cards. So I know there are a whole bunch of different sports cards products. The one that they've tested here in this video is MLB Tops. It's a blaster box. So again, you've got multiple layers there, and this is definitely not uniform. Everything is at a different angle, but you're still able to scan a blaster box that's unopened, which is wild. Now, this is probably going to depend on different sports card releases, but the fact that you can identify a name, right, it's incredible. And I feel like the more that they test sports cards and the different types of products, especially products that have more pronounced parts to them, so like patches, SIGs, stuff like that, it's probably going to get easier, which is wild because there's way more money involved in sports cards than Pokemon. And just seeing how detailed it is, I feel like this has been happening in the sports world for years and it's just not been made public. Then you've got Magic the Gathering. Now, this one's really interesting and I don't know a whole lot about Magic the Gathering, but from what I understand and what they're saying on the website, releases that don't have holos or foil cards in them are harder to be scanned and they don't think that they can scan them just yet. Stronger scanners may produce results in the future, but the tech doesn't seem to be there yet. But for releases that have holos and foils in them, they are saying that foil-based cards are able to be imaged. So the proof of concept is definitely there and it varies from release to release. Moving on to more recent sets, they also scanned One Piece, OPO5 Awakening of the New Era, and they managed to identify this NL character parallel card. This is probably a bit easier because the texture and the holographic on it is a bit more pronounced, but still incredible. One of the cards identified is a chase card. It is a card that, you know, has a bit more value to it than just a super rare. For Disney's Lorcana, it looks a little bit tougher. The holo on Lorcana cards isn't as pronounced, so it's harder to find tells and identify cards. But from the scan of the first chapter booster box that they scanned, they were able to identify some characteristics of a card there. So the signs are there. The proof of concept is definitely there. It's just a time exercise working out what the card is. They scanned Digimon as well. So being a Bandai product, I'm expecting the results to be similar to One Piece. There are signs and indications of a card that isn't just a common flat card. You can see it's a holo. You can see it's got texture. And again, proof of concept is definitely there. Same thing goes for YuGiOh, which actually looks like it's going to be a little bit easier because YuGiOh cards, the text has a foil to it. So you're pretty easily able to identify and read what the card is and look it up that way. So they did scan a booster box of Infinite Forbidden. And again, they're getting results. So this is still really early days, but you can see for most of the popular TCGs, proof of concept is there. I was hoping to see a Japanese Pokemon booster box scanned as well, but they just weren't able to get a hold of one in time for this vid. So still work to be done there, but who knows? If you can take it this far, how far can you really take it? Probably far enough to scan Japanese as well. Now, these are just some of the cards they found from this initial scan. Obviously, the more time you have and the longer you spend sifting through the data and sifting through the noise, the more cards you're going to identify, especially if you know exactly what it is you're looking for. And Industrial, they don't really know what they're looking for. They're just looking for something and then trying to piece the dots together. And that's going to play a part in the cost for the consumer for this service. So I guess we better talk about that part of the process. Industrial have outlined a pretty straightforward process on their website here. So first you contact Industrial via email outlining what it is you want scanned, and then they'll send you a quote with shipping instructions and a payment link. Once they receive your product, they'll scan it for you, and then after about 1 to 5 days, depending on the product getting scanned, they'll provide you a link with the CT scan files and a free program to view them with. That means that reviewing the data and identifying which cards are in the product, if any, is left up to the consumer, up to the collector. So Industrial have told me that's the most time-consuming and difficult part of the process, and not knowing a whole lot about TCGs as it stands, it makes sense that the consumer does that the collector does that themselves, because they know specifically what it is they're looking for. And I guess in a weird, like, futuristic alternate universe kind of way, you kind of hold onto that feeling of searching through a pack that you'd get by ordinarily opening it. Whether you agree with that or not, up to you, but you can kind of see how it's still there. Once you've downloaded the files, they'll send the product back to you, and that's basically it. Now, on the website, they mentioned that data is going to be stored for up to 30 days, and that's kind of at odds with the certification and serialization service and database that they've proposed on the website. They haven't launched that just yet. I'll talk about that a bit later. I want to talk about the cost of everything. So depending on what it is that you're getting scanned, there are different tiers of costs. For 1 to 5 packs getting scanned, it's going to cost 75 USD per pack with a 1 to 2 day lead time. And I feel like depending on how popular or in demand this service is, that might stretch out a little bit. For 6 to 10 packs, it'll cost 70 USD per pack with a 2 to 3 day lead time. And then for 11 plus packs, it'll be 65 USD per pack with a 3 to 4 day lead time. Plus you get a 3D printed mini Cubone skull. That's kind of cool. For box scanning though, or non-typical items, anything that isn't a booster pack, it's a to be decided price. So I figure they're going to give you a quote and let you know how much that's going to cost and how long that is going to take. You can see there are a whole bunch of asterisks there, so I'd highly encourage you to read the website carefully before inquiring about the services. Now, for modern packs, the value proposition doesn't really seem to be there. You know, the most expensive modern pack, Evolving Skies, it's about 20 USD. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend 75 USD to scan it. At that price, you may as well just open it. But for vintage booster packs, you can see the value is there, especially when the vintage pack might cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. It's accessible enough that you can afford to do it without feeling like it's being gatekept and only rich collectors can use it. As for the technology and whether this is something that can be replicated by a hobbyist or somebody in their own free time, that I do not know. But Keith from Industrial did speak a little bit about their process and provided some insight for us.
Okay, so there are three major components to every CT system. The X-ray source, this is where X-rays are produced. The part manipulator, which allows you to move parts around, rotate them, lift them, translate them X, Y, Z, tilt, and then the X-ray detector. All three of these are critical for the type of part that's inspected. So X-ray source is critical because that determines how sharp or focused your image is. The manipulator is important because of weight capacity, size, how close you can get to either the source or the detector. And then the detector is important because this pretty much controls your noise depending on the type of detector, the frame rate, the resolution. So we would like to say that our combination of these three things for this type of system is best in class. It's got the lowest noise, really fast, a really small spot size down to 3 micron resolution we have in this system, up to 122 micron. So that's perfect for an application like this that doesn't seem that complex, but when you're trying to read something that's only a few microns thick, you need the best resolution and the lowest possible noise. And that's what this system does. There are lots of CT scanners out there. There are ones that you can rent, but those devices don't meet the criteria for something as specialized as this.
So clearly these machines are a few levels above a $1,500 CT scanner. And that's not a diss at Aaron Wayne, who rebuilt a CT scanner in his garage and did this, but it's more an indication of the fact that you probably need a little bit more power and a little bit more money behind you to do this easily and quickly. I guess the big question here is, how do you know what you're sending to Industrial is what you're going to get back if they can scan it and see what's inside before you? You know, there's a bit of a gap here where, let's say you send a base set booster pack. They scan it and it's got a Charizard inside, but the data they send you suggests it has nothing. Then they send you a dud pack back and they hold onto your base set pack with the Charizard. The solution to that seems really complicated. There is a note on the website about how trust and transparency is paramount to them. And I've let them know that they probably want to implement some kind of requirement where if you're sending a booster pack, you've got to send it in a marked tamper-proof plastic bag, similar to when you do a box break and they send you a booster pack, so that you know that the pack from the box break, from the breaker that you trust, is the pack that you're getting. So that kind of mitigates the potential for you to be defrauded, but it's not exactly bulletproof. It's kind of like when you send cards to a middleman to get graded, there's this trust that you build up over time. So I feel like Industrial are going to have to build up that trust with collectors as they kind of work through this process together. I don't think there's any real reason to doubt Industrial here because they have so little to gain and so much to lose from deceit, especially if this tech becomes more accessible in the future. They've spoken to me a little bit about offering a walk-in service, so that's probably going to be the best way to go about it if you have any concerns, especially if you've got really big items or anything vintage that's worth a whole lot of money. Now, you might have noticed by now on the website that there's this little paragraph about certifications and authentication. So it looks like they want to explore offering a certification database, like a way to serialize packs, products that have been scanned, to definitively say on their database that it has X card inside of it. This looks very, very early in its phases of development, but it's kind of interesting. I think the plan is to use that for like pre-graded or slabbed items. So it's like an additional level of authentication to say, yes, this is a graded, authenticated product. And then on top of that, we are saying that it's got X card inside of it, which is like certification on certification. Or they could potentially offer their own certification and serialization for just the product alone that definitively says on a database that it's got X card inside of it. But to do that, they're going to have to store data for more than 30 days. They're going to have to store it forever. It's hard to even process that and gauge if there's even going to be interest for it. But as the space develops, I feel like that market, if it's there, is going to emerge. And speaking of the market, Industrial have made it pretty clear on their website they understand the gravity of what they're doing and that it's only fair that this tech is accessible to as many people as possible. But you can't deny that this is probably going to change the sealed market dramatically. No matter which way you look at it, there is no turning back. And the hobby as we know it is about to change into a form we have never seen before. Where it lands though, that is anybody's guess. All you can really do, strap in and enjoy the ride. Or hate the ride. I don't know, one of the two. Either way, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.